Oh, look, you professional and shit. You got them.
This is my work setup.
Oh shit, I need to do that. Well, I need to get a whole headset. Where you get that from?
The headset actually for my job. They like provide the headset and all that stuff. I just got a new desk that I set up just before like we were supposed to start this meeting, so I haven't switched out my old desk yet.
You bought that
Um,
desk or the job did?
no, I did.
Where'd you get it from?
I got it from Wayfair.
Oh, yes, man.
So
Yes, man.
it was like it was on sale for like 219. Like I don't need anything fancy. I'm a short guy, so I need to that desk can go lower, and that's all I need so I can sit with both feet on the
I
ground.
need that. I need to get that. Okay. I'm gonna get that. So you good?
Yeah,
All right. So you talk to your peoples, right?
yeah, I'm good.
They good, man. I don't nobody mad at me or nothing.
No, nobody's gonna be mad at you.
All right, cool. Because I didn't know that there was like you taught me a lot, right? And
Hmm.
I appreciate it, but I didn't know that there was a what you refer to as the queer Muslim community, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that it existed. Like I knew there was stuff, but I didn't know. So maybe start with that, and then you can get into your own story if you want to share it. You can share what you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard because the queer Muslim community, it's really based a lot online,
Hmm.
just because a lot of people are still in the closet. So, I don't know if that's going to be a huge talking point, but, we're out there all around. A lot of people, you know, they they would rather stay in the closet
Yeah.
because the general disposition towards queer people in Islam or in Muslim communities rather is very negative. It's
Yeah.
very negative. So for their safety, they stay in the closet.
Hmm.
So the most queer Muslims that I've met have all been online. But when I say like they're from everywhere you can think of, they're from everywhere.
So,
Yeah.
so, so then, well, start where you want to start. How about
Yeah.
that?
I'm Adam Haminallah. I am 25 years old. I started transitioning when I was 23, so I'm almost coming up on. Actually, I started transitioning when I was 24, and I'll be 26 this year. So I'll be at 2 years on August 8th. Um, come from a pretty big Muslim family. Um, Not everybody understands my position, but that's okay. Like, growing as, a person and being an adult in this world, I realized that you don't got to agree with everybody that you love. You know, you just have to love them and show them respect, and they do the same. And that's pretty much the gist of what I've gotten out of my life is that that's all that matters. As long as you treat other human beings with decency, you know, leave alone that which does not concern you. You just keep to yourself. You do what you got to do that's best for you, and you keep it moving. So I don't know. That's kind of what I try to do. Um, yeah, I am out at my job. Everybody knows that I'm Muslim and that I'm black and that I'm queer. They know that I'm trans, and I haven't run into any issues with that. I know a lot of people face discrimination in the workplace, so mashallah, I don't have to deal with anything like that. I do live in Detroit. My neighbors are pretty good. I live next to this older guy. He's pretty cool. He found a rescue cat in my backyard, so we adopted that cat. But no, I don't know. I'm just living my life the best I can.
Okay. So then when you decided to do the transition, was that well, I mean, did you come out first and then
Yeah,
do it, or how did
yeah. So originally I myself didn't know that I was trans. So growing up, I just thought that I was a lesbian. I didn't know that I was trans. I didn't understand why I felt the disconnect with my body or why, going through puberty was so not hard because I feel like it's hard to a certain extent for everybody, but just so uncomfortable. I was just so uncomfortable with my body, and I didn't know that there was a word for what I was. So I came out as a lesbian gradually to each member of my family, pretty much individually. And if you know my family, it's a lot of people to come out to. Um, but yeah, people took it different ways, and I allowed them to take it the way that they wanted to take it. And I love my family, and I know they love me, and that's pretty much all that matters.
I
But
love
yeah, so, huh?
I said I love your family too.
Thank you. There's some good people. But yeah, so I came out from the age of 17 to about 22, I was constantly coming out to different people in my family individually. And then I moved out of my parents' house when I was 23. I moved up the road to Clementon. I bought my first home there, like a condo. And then as I was able to just like live by myself and start, really listening to myself, I started going to therapy and I started realizing that, there is a word for what I am. There's a word for the way that I've been feeling throughout pretty much my whole life. The gender dysphoria. You know what gender dysphoria is?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
So
you can
yeah,
explain it though, because everybody don't know.
yeah. So gender dysphoria is basically when you feel um, a disconnect with your body. You feel uncomfortable in your body because it isn't um, how you not how you feel it should be, but how you feel you are. Like it doesn't match what's on the inside, if that makes sense. So like, for trans men, it would be things like their hips, or like their chest, or, their voice, or their lack of facial hair. So those things would cause gender dysphoria. And I didn't know why I was so uncomfortable post puberty. But that was the reason. So I realized that I had gender dysphoria. I realized that, you know, I needed to do something because wanting to kill yourself because you don't match outside how you feel inside is not okay. We're Muslims, we don't believe you're allowed to kill yourself and things like that. So I figured the only thing for me to do is do what I can do best. And in order for me not to feel that way, like I had to kill myself every day, it was to listen to the mental health professionals that I was, seeing and the doctors that I was seeing and get on hormones. So that's what I did.
All right. So you grew up though, and you grew up in a mansion, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you grew up reciting Quran, reading Quran, memorizing Quran.
for
So
sure.
when so my question is this, and I'm just posed like I don't want to share none of my personal opinions or nothing. I
Yeah.
just gonna give you questions that other people would ask, right? To watch the video. So like you just mentioned that we don't kill ourselves in this thing,
hmm
right? So how in the trans Muslim community, how do these people justify?
How do we reconcile?
Okay, all right. So you give me anytime I mess up the words, if I fuck the words up, just
No,
correct.
no, no. You're not messing up the
Okay,
words.
I
I
want
just
to
think
be
reconcile is
okay. So
a better word to use as opposed to justify.
how do you reconcile this but not that? Or like where do the lines come? Where do they draw the lines where they say, I'm okay with this or I
So
reconcile?
so I can't speak to any other trans individual because everybody's experiences are their own. But for me personally, it was a matter of if a Muslim is, and it's very basic. And I'm not a scholar, I'm not a sheikh or anything like that. But for me, it seemed very basic that if you are without food and you're gonna die, you're allowed to eat pork. If you're gonna die. If you are without anything, any sustenance or whatever, you're stranded somewhere and the only food that's available to you is pork, you're allowed to do that to stay alive. So the way I see it, I'm doing my best to stay alive. And staying alive for me means taking hormones and making my outside match my inside. You know,
So
that's
it's
for
about
me at least how I reconcile it.
the feeling.
Um, it's more than a feeling because gender dysphoria can cause physiological responses. So, as opposed to living feeling like you want to kill yourself every day, not being able to look at yourself in the mirror, feeling a disconnect with your body where you're getting disassociation. You know what disassociation is?
Mm-hmm.
Where you like disassociate with your body and stuff like that. So,
Explain it.
um,
Talk
sorry.
to me like I'm five.
No, all right. So disassociating from your body is when you don't you stop being able to feel certain parts of your body or like they're not attached to you. So that's something that I went through my whole life, and I just didn't know why. So instead of trying to live and trying to convince myself not to kill myself every single day, I have gotten on hormones. Alhamdulillah, I'm a lot better. I'm not suicidal. It's the first time since I've been like 15 that I haven't been suicidal this time that I've been on hormones. And I'm doing the best I can to be the best Muslim that I can, you know?
Okay. So, all right. So then, all right. So you study fiqh, right? Or no?
No,
No.
not really.
All right. So, and this is just have you spoken to any shayuk or scholars or
Yeah.
imams, anyone? So, and what are what was the feedback you got? You gotten people to support this or people that was against it? Like, what
I
did you?
mean, there I've gotten both sides of it. The thing that stuck with me though is the living or trying to live the best that I can. And that's something where I knew an imam that went to in Texas. I think it's Cullum, and he knew a lot of Shiuk there, and he spoke to them about me. I asked him multiple times to speak, to them about me, um, and while he said that, there is no way to like say like this is halal for you to do, you know, that I have to do what I can, like do the best that I can. So, that's where I kind of fall, where I'm living every day, mashallah, and I'm trying to do the best that I can. And that includes me staying alive,
Mhm.
you know.
I get that. So, um, the reason why I brought that up is because we've had these conversations with different shayu, particularly about it never came up about trans people, but it's come up about homosexuality. And so what I've known the ruling from studying fiqh was that if a person uh, took the position of this is something that they're going through and it's something they're struggling with,
Mhm.
then it doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam. You recognize that I I shouldn't be doing these acts, but it's something I'm struggling with and I'm making continual toba for. But
Mhm.
the way I was taught was also that, but if someone takes it to the point where they say, hey, well, no, this is justified. So for instance, even if it's
Mhm.
something like fornication, that if you
Yeah.
justified it and said, no, this is okay, this is halal for me to do, then this would
Mhm.
actually remove you from Islam. And I'm not trying to judge or nothing. So
I
don't
don't think you're trying to do
yeah.
anything. You're
So
interviewing.
my question is because that would make the person who is with whatever sin
I
who
totally understand what you're saying, and
no,
I've
I'm just
heard
trying to
that
make sure
multiple
that I'm
times too.
wording it correctly for whoever's watching, right? So the person who that will make you legal terms and fiqh will make you
Mhm.
fast, right? So what would you consider what you're going? Like, is this something
Like
you
I said, I never said anything was halal. I never said that. All I think is that I'm doing the best I can to stay alive, you
well,
know?
what I mean is this a thing where like, do you make Toba or this is like or it's okay or this is a who I am thing?
Do I make Toba for trying not to, like, trying to live in a way that I don't have to kill myself?
Um, I don't know because I don't want to offend you. Like, what my thing is if all right, because there's different components to this, right? So first you said you came out as a lesbian, right? So you say,
Hmm.
all right, so no, you're no longer a lesbian now. You're a trans person who is in a relationship. So
So it's that I've always been trans. I just
okay,
didn't understand what I was going through. Um, so it's like I was confused. I thought it was a sexuality thing, but it wasn't. It was a gender thing, which are two totally different things. Sexuality is, who I like or what I like. A gender is your identity. That's something that you are. It's the difference between I like and I am, you know? So I am a man, and, I didn't know what I was going through until I got mental health professionals to help me understand what I was going through. Like if your foot hurts, you're not going to go to an imam for that. You're going to go to a doctor,
absolutely.
and that's what I did, and this is the advice that I've gotten from multiple doctors, you know.
So can you explain gender then? Because I'm that was another question I was going to have because I think you made a good point. You say this isn't my sexuality. You said your sexuality is what
Like,
you like. Gender is what you are.
yeah.
So is what you are, in your opinion, what you feel you are or what you are?
In my opinion, it's what I am. So gender, when we think about gender, is you have to understand it's a social construct, first of all. Um, so gender is dictated by what we socially agree on, if that makes sense. It's not rooted in anything biological. That would be a sex, not a gender.
I'm confused.
So there's sex and then there's gender. Sex is, it presents itself via your chromosomes, it presents itself via, physical aspects like your genitalia and stuff like that. Gender is basically a social construct. It's how you relate to the world and how the world relates to you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because if you look at me, people look at me, they see a man. They talk to me like I'm a man. It doesn't matter what sex I was assigned at birth. It matters how I present and move through the world, which determines one's gender.
Okay. So, all right. All right, let's backtrack. So when you first came out as lesbian, was transitioning part, was that on your mind then, or was it just I'm gay?
I didn't know that transitioning was something that I could do. I didn't know that I could basically feel at home in my body. I thought that the feelings that I were having, I've always been attracted to female presenting people. I've never been attracted to guys, and I thought that was just me being a lesbian, but it was because I'm transgender. I'm a transgender guy. So I'm straight. That's how I would identify my sexuality. I'm straight. But it's a little more. I think the conversation about sexuality versus gender and versus sex on that are that's a longer conversation than we're gonna have now.
um, hmm. So then, all right. So then I'm gonna ask your opinion. What's your opinion on without outside of trans people? Your actual opinion on just Muslims who identify as homosexual. What's your opinion on?
um, Honestly, my opinion is that everybody has to find their own opinion and find their own understanding of things. I'm not going to sit here and tell other people what's halal and haram. I'm a layperson. I don't have that right to do to anybody. I'm also not going to damn people. And I'm also going to continue to respect people regardless of the choices that they make that don't affect me,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah. But
Yeah.
what I mean is like because it's this is different. Especially I mean a lot for a lot of older people because all of this stuff is new,
Yeah.
and
To them, yeah.
yeah. So like I have a friend of mine, he's a a psychologist, and
Hmm.
he's Muslim, but I mean he's not a sheikh or imam or anything. He doesn't deal with legal rulers, but just
Yeah.
he talks to a lot of people that go through what you went through, and
Transitioning?
transitioning,
Mm.
just a lot of, I mean the whole gamut of things, and so when I asked him about this, and like I said, it's not like legal stuff. A lot of times he would tell me that, I mean, I don't want to say what I should do is just have him on so he can explain what he was saying. But it just brings up a lot of confusion for us because, like, especially when you're trying to balance, I mean, everything doesn't always just fall in halal or haram, but
Hmm.
um, also trying to preserve the tenets of Islam, and
Yeah.
that's why when we first had a conversation about this in the barbershop, and I asked you like, well, I'm not more so concerned. Like what you choose to do is what you choose to do, and I'm going to respect you regardless.
Yeah.
Well, where this is the first time because I've had many conversations with people who may have felt, you know, gay and were
Hmm.
Muslim, or were gay and wanted to become Muslims,
Yeah.
and that was what was stopping them, and that's why I asked you for your opinion on that, and also with the queer Muslim community and what,
Hmm.
not from anyone's specific situations, but like I said, how do you reconcile that with what you know about Islam? That's always not you personally, but I mean any person.
Yeah, I feel like the
Yeah.
general disposition from the queer Muslims that I've talked to is that they do their best, and that's all that they can do. So whether or not you believe it's right or wrong, if it's something that you're struggling with, it's something that you're struggling with. Whether it's alcoholism, addiction, you know, fornication, cursing, different things like that. Like all we're here to do is do our best and remember and worship Allah. So you try to do that to the best of your ability where you're at, you know,
So,
and that's kind of what I've gotten from people in the community.
all right. So then, growing up, did you feel? Like, did you feel that maybe you were, I don't know how to put, like, in the wrong body, or
Growing up, I didn't know what the name for my feeling was. Growing up as a child, I didn't really feel any different because there's no difference between pretty much no like physical differences before puberty that super matter all that much to me. Different trans people, it's different, but definitely after puberty, when my chest diverged from, what my cousin's chest looked like, and when my hips, diverged from what his hips were developing, and all those kinds of things. Like that's when I started feeling the dysphoria. Usually, it strikes after puberty for a lot of trans people. Um, so definitely I did feel a lot of dysphoria growing up, and just kind of like my life was over. I started feeling like that when I was like 14, 15, more around 15, just feeling like there's no point in living, and like everything was just so wrong you know
but more so what I mean is, like, so even if it wasn't then, if you didn't know how to describe it then,
Mhm.
how do you describe it now? Do you feel like you were born in the wrong body, or do you?
No, I don't believe, because like Allah doesn't make mistakes. I don't believe I was born in the wrong body. I believe that I was born in this body, but there are medical advances that we have now that allow me to be more true to myself. Like there have always been trans people. It's not something new that's just new to the 21st century. There's always been trans people.
Explain that.
There's Huh?
Explain that, because I never heard it.
Oh, there's actually a hadith. I can't remember. I can never remember the word, but there's a hadith about a guy or a person who was allowed in men's spaces and women's spaces when the women were uncovered. Like Prophet Muhammad Islam left him alone. And only until after he described to a man what a woman's hair looked like, I believe, is when Prophet Muhammad Islam said, okay, he's not allowed anymore. So you can take from that what you will, but what I take from it is that there have always been trans people, and they have been, not prosecuted or anything like that. They've been left alone as long as they're decent people, you know? That's the only thing that I could find about possibly a trans person in the Islamic world. But outside of the Islamic world, just historically, there have always been trans people.
Continue.
Continue how?
I mean,
I'm not.
tell me what you know. I'm interested. I'm really intrigued right now. Like,
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head their names and whatnot, but
okay.
it's not something that's new. In different tribes and stuff like that, like Native American tribes, there are people that are too spirited. That's what their word for like being transgender was, is being too spirited. Different things like that. But quick Google search, you can find that trans people are not anything new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. What else we got? I'm like, I don't.
I don't know, man. You're the one asking the questions.
Nah. Hey, you. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. So you're in a. Can you talk about your relationship? You feel like talking about that or no?
I'm married. If that means I did get married by an imam, in one of my siblings' houses. About 2 years, actually, 2 years ago. Yeah, our anniversary was February 7th. And I don't know what can I say there.
You
They're the
got married
best
by a
spouse for
local
me,
man?
huh?
A local man?
No, it was an imam from New York.
New York.
Yeah,
So okay.
he
So
actually is at this. They do like non-traditional Muslim weddings. Um, And I say that because they do marry transgender people and people that are homosexuals, which this isn't me weighing in on my opinion. That's just what the organization does.
really.
Yeah.
Okay. So um did you marry um did you marry a straight person, a lesbian, or
No, I didn't marry a straight person.
oh,
And
just asking.
yeah, no, I know. I didn't marry somebody that was straight, but I don't really want to. I feel like that's not my conversation to have if we're going to get into my
Yeah, I don't
spouse,
want
you
to.
know?
Yeah, I'm just asking, just because that's what
Yeah.
people would ask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. When we met, I was a lesbian and so were they.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
understand. Tell me more.
I don't know what else to say, man.
Hmm? No, so what does the queer Muslim community want?
What do we want? I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I would like to be able to go to the masjid like any other Muslim, without getting, you know, stared at or yelled at or pushed out. Just I feel like you don't have to agree with what other adults are doing. You don't have to. But I do think it's important to understand when people are trying and to allow them to do that. Because you think about it, the fact that Islam is the last religion. We were sent the last prophet, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There's no other religion that's going to come after this. This is the religion for the rest of humanity. Um, so when you think about the amount of people that are being excluded from this religion because we as Muslims can't allow them to just exist and practice Islam the best that they can practice, we're turning people away, you know? And it's very hard to see. I know multiple people that have come to me that were trans just online and say, I've been wanting to convert to Islam, but I don't know how they're going to take it at the local masjid, and I don't feel welcome and all this kind of stuff. And they end up not, becoming Muslim because of how people are treating them. So I understand that Allah makes Muslims and Allah turns people away and allows people, rope in their trespass and all that. But if you're a Muslim, you're a God-fearing person, you have an obligation to be kind to humanity, to all of Allah's creation. So that's all I would, bottom line is just understanding, not necessarily agreement, and kindness. That's what we want from the Muslim community.
I mean, that there I would definitely agree with. I always, whether you agree or not, people don't ask you to agree with none of the shit they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, people want to do what they do. And I think people should show respect unless you've done something that's going to harm the next person. Um, my only objection to all of this, I mean, it's not my only one, but the main one that I see is just like, we have what's called isnad in the religion, right? And so the Prophet Islam, he passed down exactly how things were to be and not be and whatnot. And that doesn't go into how we're to behave, but he gave an example for how to behave. So one of those things was with respect, showing respect and love and kindness. But also, the thing that concerns me the most about this is sometimes it feels like we're just taking and drawing new lines where we want. And that's why I asked you, like, like, what do you think? Like, so my question always been, and somebody might get mad at me for saying this, but because I have to deal with this with my own children. When people talk to me about homosexuality, or I don't really get too much of this conversation, but when they talk to me about that, and I say, well, what do we do in the next 15 or 20 years because there's a movement of people that want to make pedophilia
right,
like a sexual preference.
Yeah.
There's another community that wants to make incest permissible.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, all right, so if we say, okay, this is okay, now we got to say this is okay, and this is okay, and this is, and where does it stop?
It stops at when people aren't harming. So pedophilia is harmful. It's not something that the queer community recognizes. It's a friend group of disgusting people that think it's okay. Whether you have urges to be with children, that's something that you can be, that's a whole nother issue that I don't feel like that has any bearing on the LGBTQ community. I don't see the connection there because it's literally hurting children.
I don't mean like what, because all right, what if a person was to say, all right, I don't like little baby children, but I like pubescent younger women, and then now they want the age of
consent
of consent change, and then if someone makes a rational claim for that, are we supposed to say?
So some states in the United States already allow people to get married as young as like 16. So those laws and stuff like that are already there, and it's disgusting. So I guess what you're asking is Islamically, how do we handle that? Because Islamically, people are allowed to get married after they're pubescent. That's what Islam says, that you're an adult
Yeah,
man
absolutely.
or woman after you're pubescent. So we as Americans see a problem with that, right? Like you see a problem with somebody, a grown man marrying a 15-year-old.
I see a problem with it. Now, here's the thing. My grandmother, she married my grandfather when she was 15. Or she married
Mm-hmm.
right before 15. She gave birth to my father at 15 years old. My grandfather was 21. I don't see a problem with that. The difference is what the problem with that now is that we don't groom our children to be wives or husbands. My grandmother was groomed to be someone's wife and to be a mother. And now, if that's the culture we're coming from, then no, I personally don't. In my honest opinion, I don't see anything wrong with that because this is what Allah said. So I'm not going to base stuff like it's going to get based on what Allah said. Allah said this is permissible. Cool. Now, if we're not grooming our children, not children, but our actually, because you're actually an
But
adult.
grooming them or not grooming them was not a grooming them or not grooming them wasn't anything that Allah specified. You know,
It was
people
specified
being of
in the Sunnah.
people being of a marriageable age isn't it doesn't hinge on whether or not they were groomed to
It does
be
though.
wives or
If you look in the Sunnah, Rasulullah say something. For instance, even when he married Aisha, and he didn't. He waited after some, like he married at one age, but he didn't consummate it until another age. There was a reason,
Mhm.
and that's what I mean by grooming. It wasn't like, you know, like so the marriage was arranged, but nah, we you make sure she's ready at this age. So if that was our culture, I wouldn't have a problem with that. My thing is just like I said, even if it was like my daughter one day, she was showing me on TikTok. There's a community of people who are pushing for incest to be like, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And so, but
Yeah.
if you name that, okay, this is my identity, a sexual preference, and then my thing is, where does it stop? So, like, you have
So it stops at things that aren't harmful. So we all know scientifically having children and incest is harmful. It's harmful to,
yeah, that's the case. So,
having sexual relations with a child, whether having sexual relations with a child, and I'll put it in your words, that hasn't been groomed for marriage, is harmful. That's harm. That is abuse. So that's where you would draw the line. There's a difference between two grown adults consenting in a relationship and a child being married to a grown ass man. I feel like it's not something that's hard to see where the line is drawn between consensual relationships and harmful relationships. Like, you know what I mean?
I understand what you mean, but then there's also a prohibition against homosexuality.
Hmm.
And we have proof. Allah says in the Quran, He destroyed the whole nations because of this. So
He also just
there's
okay.
right on.
Yeah, he destroyed a whole nation that was knowingly raping travelers and stealing all their stuff and was just generally horrible people. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, hey, you got good responses, but I just, want to ask your opinion. What
Yeah.
so you ever watched you watched the series Atlanta?
Atlanta?
Mhm.
No.
Okay. And so I'm gonna have this conversation with a trans man, right? Because I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
There was an episode where they were making it was like a satire. And so they had this guy on and he claimed to be transracial. And so he says, hey, you look like me, fat black guy, black dark skinned guy, afro. And he says, no, I'm a white man. I want you to refer to me now as, you know, whatever. He picked a white man. Now, what that's we laughed at it, and it was a funny you know piece of art. But when you're talking to people like us, we that's what it sounds like sometimes when I'm reading a lot of the the arguments for the trans community. It always reminds me of that episode when this man says, well, you know what, I feel like I'm a white man inside, so I want you to refer to me now as a white man. and it's all based on a feeling. So I'm not, like I said,
Has that ever been? My question is, things like that have not been backed up by licensed psychiatrists and licensed doctors. It's not something that's real. Being transgender is real. You know.
mhm, okay, okay. What I should have, I'm telling you, I'm gonna have my man Sahir come on here, the mental health professional, and I should have invited him. I forgot about it. I'm gonna take all your positions and I'm gonna run them by him. I just, to me, people are going to kill me for doing this, but this isn't a whether I agree with it or not thing. It's a
People are
conversation.
gonna kill you. What do you mean?
They ain't gonna kill me. I don't give a fuck what people think about me. I'm just saying they go in the comments and they be, oh, you this, you that. I don't give a fuck. My thing is it exists. You know what I'm saying? It exists. Doesn't matter
Yeah,
if
we
I agree or
exist.
not. And we have to talk about it because it's in the community. And also, you know, this is stuff that our children are facing. So actually how to address this. Like I wouldn't be honest with you, I would have no idea how to address this with if someone in my family came to me with it. I would have no idea. So like I'll be honest with you, you know, I didn't know you were going through any of this. I had absolutely no idea, and I shouldn't either. You know what I mean? But
I mean,
when I saw you and we got to talking, like even if you saw my face when we were first kicking it, and you first said, well, I wouldn't know if I would feel comfortable with a community like that because I don't, because of who I am. And I said, well, who are you? What's like that was because I don't. Maybe I'm dumb or something, but I don't
no,
know
no,
my business. You know what I'm saying?
no. You're not dumb. Transphobia and homophobia are very real, and they happen a lot in barbershops because there can be a lot of toxic masculinity in barbershops. So it's part of the trans experience finding a barber that you're comfortable with because there can be some very bad instances going to one that's not comfortable with who you are.
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't make you feel uncomfortable, did I?
Nah.
Okay, good. I don't, that's not my aim. I just, like I said, if I don't know something, I ask. I'm gonna ask. You know what I mean? And I had no idea. Like I just be,
Yeah.
I be minding my business. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but I think I appreciate you coming on because it's a conversation needs to be discussed. And like I had brought it up with we actually did a video with Sway Webb last week. I had brought it up with him, but I wanted finding people that can actually address certain things the right way. That's another issue. And that's why I asked you about the imam that you said you had come down, because there's some imams I will talk to certain things about, and some of them I won't, because I know you might not really have the qualifications to, to answer that. I don't know, man. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Other than that, anything else you got? Anything you want people to know? I thought you was launching your business and stuff.
Yes, I am. I'm launching a business. It's basically just a website it's gonna have clothing or whatever. I haven't gotten any products yet. It's gonna be for people in the trans or queer community. We're trying to launch the site around like April, beginning of April-ish, so during Ramadan, inshallah. But yeah, it's just going to be clothes more geared to trans people because we have trans bodies. It's hard to find clothes that fit you right and don't make you feel dysphoric. So that's what I hope my site will bring. I don't really know if your audience is going to shop there, but yeah.
Hey, be honest with you, we are ground level. There's people that watch, and you never know who's watching. So rock out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for doing this. I think it's important that you give a voice to people that don't normally have voices in our community. So I like what you're doing. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. All right, if that's all. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Unless you got more questions. I keep
Yeah,
saying you're the interviewer. You gotta ask me
I
stuff.
think that's it. I think that's it. All right.